Good morning, children. We were studying lesson 2, growth, development and reproduction in plants. In this chapter, we have already studied about what is reproduction, what are the vegetative and reproductive parts of a plant, then the two modes of reproduction, the different types of asexual reproduction methods that we have covered, and we have studied about vegetative propagation. Then I told you about pollination, and that pollination is of two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Now, in order to make cross-pollination happen, there are different pollinating agents. Okay, so we will see the main pollinating agents. What are they? Insects, wind and water. Insects like bee, butterfly, moth, they sit on a flower to suck the nectar, and then in this way the pollens, they get stuck on their bodies and the feet, and when they fly they sit on some other plant, on some other flower, there they drop those pollens. Okay, so if a plant is insect pollinated, you will observe that such plants have very showy flowers. Flowers are quite attractive, brightly colored, and they have good fragrance. Wind pollination is seen in grasses, wheat, corn, etc. These plants, they do not have showy flowers because the pollinating agent in this case is wind. The pollens are blown away by wind. Water pollination, this is very easy to understand, that the plants that are aquatic, they will have water as the pollinating agent. Examples are given, Vallisneria and Hydrilla. Now children, when we understood the concept of pollination, then the method can be applied artificially, where we can select the two plants with the desired qualities. Okay, so in order to improve the quality and quantity of crops, we can use artificial pollination. Okay, means the pollination that will be induced by us. Human intervention is there. We can select the two plant varieties that we want to cross pollinate, so that the new plant that is obtained is having the desired characteristics of both the plants, and the new plant that is obtained is called a hybrid. Okay, so let us understand that what is artificial pollination in detail. This method is used to improve the quality and quantity of crops. The new varieties of crops with all the desired characteristics are developed. The process of crossbreeding two varieties of crop plants, each having a desired characteristic, to obtain a new crop plant having both the desired characteristics is called hybridization. Means you have selected two such crop plants which are having the desired characteristics, and you want a new plant which should have the desired characteristics of both the plants. Okay, so this process where you are selecting the two plants and you are making them pollinate, the new individual is obtained from it, this process is called hybridization. And as I told you, the new variety of crop developed is called a hybrid. What are the different steps involved in artificial pollination? First step is flowers with desired characteristics are selected. Okay, so the characteristic that we have chosen is the flower, okay, color of the flower or its characteristics. So flowers with the desired characteristics are selected. The reproductive part you have got. Now the stamens of bisexual flowers are removed in the bud condition, and the pistil is covered with muslin cloth to prevent natural cross pollination. So what you have to do is, in the budding stage itself, you have to ensure that natural cross pollination does not happen. How you will be able to ensure that? By removing the stamens and by protecting the pistil. Okay, so the pistil has to be covered with a muslin cloth and the stamens have to be removed. Now let that plant mature, let that flower mature. So when the stigma will mature, the pollen grains from the stamen of the another plant that you have selected, those pollen grains are deposited on the stigma. This can be done manually also. Okay, now the cross pollinated flowers are again covered with a muslin bag, and fertilization is allowed. Ultimately the fruits and seeds are produced. So the seeds produced, they will germinate and give rise to the hybrid plant. Okay, so what is done? Normal pollination is happening here also, but human intervention is there, where you have selected the two plant varieties and you have made them pollinate. The reproductive parts, you have covered the pistil, you've removed the stamen, and you've introduced the pollens from the other selected plant. So human intervention is there, otherwise the process of pollination and fertilization is happening. Okay, and the seed that is obtained when you are going to germinate it, you'll allow it to germinate. The new plant that is obtained is a hybrid. Now see this picture. This is a very beautiful picture of the fertilization process. Children, you can see the red colored pollen grain settled on the top of the stigma. Stigma secretes some sticky substance that allows the pollen grain to settle over it. After a few days, a pollen tube starts forming from the pollen grain. That tube increases in length. It passes through the stigma, through the style, and it reaches the ovary. It enters through an opening inside the ovule. Okay, and there what is present? Egg cell is present. This pollen tube which came down is not an empty tube. Inside there is male gamete, that is two male nuclei are there inside. So those two nuclei, the tip of the pollen tube ruptures and those two nuclei come out. Okay, one of them will fuse with the egg cell, and after the fusion the zygote formation will take place. So you have to remember this in sequence. Pollen grain settles, sits over the stigma. After a few days a pollen tube develops. Inside the pollen tube the two male nuclei are present, they are the male gametes. This tube increases in size and it carries the male gametes inside it. So the tube passes through the stigma, style, ovary, and through an opening it enters into the ovule. Okay, then inside there is egg cell present. One of the nuclei fuses with the egg cell and fertilization takes place. So the male gamete fuses with the female gamete to form a fertilized egg cell called zygote. When the fusion takes place, the egg cell gets fertilized and we get a zygote. This process of fusion of male gamete with the female gamete is called fertilization. Now what happens after fertilization? The ovary of the flower will swell and it develops to form a fruit. The ovule matures to form a seed. The other parts of the flower like stamen, style, stigma, they are now not needed, so they dry, they fall off. Okay, so you have to remember that the ovary swells to form the fruit and ovule matures to form the seed. Now the seed formation has happened, it needs to get dispersed. Okay, so there are different agents again for dispersal of seeds. In your book 3 main agents have been covered, that is wind, animals and water. So the seeds can be dispersed by any of these means. Alright, now when the seed is dispersed, it falls on a suitable medium, it gets all the essential conditions, then it will start germinating. Alright, now first we should understand that what is the structure of a seed, how it looks like. So a mature seed has 2 parts. The outer covering is the seed coat and inside the seed coat lies the embryo. Seed coat is the protective thick covering. Now seed coat also has 2 layers. The outer layer is the testa and the inner thin membrane is the tegmen. And what is embryo? Embryo is the baby plant. Okay, when the seed coat will rupture, the embryo will develop into the plantlet. So inside the embryo what is there? There are 3 major things that you will find: radicle, plumule and cotyledons. Children, radicle, first we will see this. Okay, see on the right hand side you can see one seed. Okay, when you will open it, inside you see there are 2 cotyledons, then there is radicle and plumule. Alright, the seed coat is also visible. Now children, this radicle when grows, it gives rise to the root system of the plant. Plumule gives rise to the shoot system, and cotyledons are responsible for storage of food. Okay. Now, depending on the type of plant, some plants, they have some seeds, they have just one cotyledon in them, and that too is very thin, papery like. So in them the food storage cannot be done by cotyledons. Instead, they have endosperm for food storage. Such seeds are called monocots or monocotyledonous seeds. Okay. Then some plants will bear seeds which will have two thick fleshy cotyledons, like you can see in this picture. So if two cotyledons are present and they are quite fleshy, then they are enough to store the food. Such type of seeds are known as dicotyledonous seeds. Okay. So on the basis of the number of cotyledons, you can say that there are two types of seeds, monocots and dicots. So monocots have only one cotyledon, dicots have two cotyledons. In monocots, the monocot is paper like, it is very thin, and dicots have fleshy cotyledons. Monocots, since the cotyledon is paper like, so instead of cotyledon, who's doing the function of food storage? Endosperm. And in dicots, endosperm is absent. Endosperm stores food in monocots and cotyledons store food in case of dicots. This table is important, and the diagram of the seed is also very important. Now, once the seed falls on a suitable medium and it is getting all the conditions, that is water, oxygen and right temperature, then the seed starts germinating. Okay. So you should know the definition of germination: the process in which the embryo in the seed becomes active and grows into baby plant. That is called germination. When will germination happen? Only if it gets the suitable conditions, that is right amount of water, oxygen and temperature. The process of germination begins when the seed starts soaking up water and starts swelling. The enzymes that are present in the seed, they digest the stored food and make it soluble. Then the seed coat ruptures, okay, it breaks. When the seed coat breaks, then the radicle and plumule that is inside the embryo, they start growing. But first radicle grows. Okay, first radicle will grow, it will move into the soil and form the root system. Once this is done, then the plumule moves upwards to form the shoot system. So this question can be asked that what develops first, radicle or plumule? Your answer will be radicle. First the root system develops, then the shoot system develops. Okay. After this, the green leaves develop and they start doing the photosynthesis in the small plantlet. Once the process of photosynthesis begins, the plant will start growing in size and it will start its life cycle. Okay. Now children, germination, this process of seed germination is of two types: epigeel germination and hypogeel germination. Okay. On the basis of the cotyledons, whether the cotyledon is coming up during germination out of the soil or whether it remains under the soil, on the basis of this, germination can be divided into two types. Okay. Now right now on your screen you can see epigeel germination. In this germination, children, the cotyledons, they come out of the soil. You can see the third picture where the cotyledons are out. Okay, and they become green, they form cotyledon leaves. So cotyledons, they play a very important role in this case in epigeel germination. In epigeel germination, when the seed coat bursts and the embryo development begins, then the cotyledons, they come out, they come up of the soil and they form cotyledon leaves. So initially they start preparing food for the small plant, for the plantlet. Okay, so the cotyledons are not only storing the food in the seed stage, but it is also preparing the food when germination begins in case of epigeel germination. This type of germination is found in dicot seeds like beans, gourd and castor. The second diagram is of hypogeal germination. In this germination, the cotyledons, they remain under the soil. They only store the food. They will not form cotyledon leaves and will not do preparation of food. Okay, here they will remain under the soil, and it is the plantlet that grows, and the plant bears leaves when the photosynthesis begins. Okay, so the cotyledons have only one role, that is storage of food. Alright, and this type of germination occurs in both monocots and in some dicots also. Children, this table you will find in your books on page number 31. Differences between epigeal and hypogeal germination. On the basis of position of the cotyledons come out of the soil, as I told you in epigeal, and in hypogeal germination they remain under the soil. The cotyledons, they get transformed, they form cotyledon leaves in case of epigeal germination, and then they start preparing food. But this does not happen in case of hypogeal germination. And epigeal germination mostly occurs in dicot seeds, whereas hypogeal germination occurs in both, some monocots as well as in some dicot seeds. Alright. After this, children, basic differences between asexual and sexual reproduction is given in your book, that in case of asexual only one parent is involved, in sexual reproduction both the parents are involved. In asexual, no fusion of gametes is taking place, and the plant that is obtained is exactly identical to the parent plant, whereas in case of sexual reproduction, fusion of gametes takes place and the plant is not identical to the parent plant. Okay, so with this we come to an end of the chapter. Children, I want all of you to go through the chapter nicely, and the questions that are there in the exercises part, that work has to be done in the notebook. All right, thank you very much.